Thanks for tuning in to the HR Uprising podcast. I'm your host, Lucinda Carney. The HR Uprising is focused on helping forward-thinking people professionals deliver real lasting value in their organisations. I'm a chartered psychologist, speaker and trainer, and recently authored the best-selling business book, How to Be a Change Superhero. My day job is founder and CEO of software and training business Actus. This gives me the opportunity to work with other businesses like yours. We are focused on building a better workplace for people wherever they are located, with the help of our performance, learning and talent management software and our training and consultancy services. Every week on the podcast, I will be covering different topics and challenges, joined by relevant experts and real-life people professionals. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoy and get value from this week's episode. Hello and welcome to the HR Uprising podcast. So this week is going to be a little bit different. Some of you who are linked with me on LinkedIn may have seen that I put a video out a couple of weeks ago with Zoe Hawkins and Jo Wheatley of the coaching crowd as they launched their new book, Deciding to Coach. And they managed to hit Amazon bestseller in a number of categories. So congratulations, ladies. So in a moment, we'll go into the actual video and the audio of that video recording that we did. So you'll hear from both of the guys on a very exciting day where they tell you a little bit more about the book and why they wrote it and a bit about the format. And then after that, I thought I'd run through some of the key points that I've taken from the book. So I've had a look at it since that first launch day and share some of the key points so you can get some of the insights. Of course, please do head on over to wherever you buy your books from and feel free to buy it yourself as well. But it's certainly, I think it's a really practical handbook and something that there's a need for out there for many people. I'm a little bit hesitant because I feel bad. I had recently Sarah Hamilton-Gill talking about if you want to set up your own HR consultancy. I feel like I'm encouraging people to leave and set up on their own. But ultimately, you know, it's great being an in-house people professional as well. These are all just options for us to have open to us. And I think it's great if we can learn from people who've done it themselves. Before I go into the actual conversation with the ladies in question, I wanted to make you aware that we will be running our open training programs again in June, and there are some places available on it used to be called the Virtual People Manager, then it became the Hybrid People Manager, and now I think it's just going to be the People Manager for Crazy Times course. Fundamentally, it's 4 modules. It talks about, it's almost people management 101. If anything, the pandemic has demonstrated to us is how important people management is, yet how few of our people have had any kind of development in that area. So if you want to give people either a refresher in terms of people management, re-kickstart people management, get a taste or put yourself through some development, this is a really affordable way of giving people some classic people management skills. So it's about self-knowledge, it is about giving clarity, setting expectations, feedback, development and coaching, relevant for today, and also managing underperformance. So it's a comprehensive walkthrough, all of the aspects of people management. And if you've got people in your organisation that you think would benefit from it, take a look at the programme or get in touch with me and I'm happy to chat it through. We do in-house courses too. So hruprising.com, you can get the details. We do run it throughout the year if you're listening to this after June 2022. And you should be able to also be able to get access from actus.co.uk. And then one final plug for training course is if you're looking for development for yourself, I do run the Change Superhero training program, which is 3 modules based around my best-selling book. And I'll be launching one of those probably end of June, early July. Ideal for people professionals, basically, who want to just think through change management, how you can bring things to life, how you can drive things, make projects happen, deliver culture change, that kind of thing. Anyway, enough of the plug, and let's go on to listening about our conversation with Jo and Zoe. And then after that, we'll sit back and I'll just give you a few summary points that I got out of their book myself so that you can get a little bit more detail about what it is that the book talks about. Hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to this week's HR Uprising podcast. And actually, we're going to go live at the same time on LinkedIn, hopefully, to do this. I'm joined today on an exciting day by Jo Wheatley, who's been on the podcast before, and Zoe Hawkins, who have just become best-selling authors, launching their new book. And actually, I'm going to hand over to you guys to introduce yourselves and also the book and a little bit about where it came from.
Thank you, Lucinda. So good to be back on the podcast. So our book is called Deciding to Coach, and it is the coaching mindset and business strategy for aspiring coaches. So we have written a book for people who are thinking about training to be a coach and perhaps are thinking, well, is it credible? How would I match my salary if I were to train become a coach? So it's a book of two parts. The first part is about how to make the decision, so it's full of different coaching tools that you can use, and the second half is the business strategy that we've used to build a successful and sustainable coaching business.
Yeah, it's the book really that we wanted when we set out in coaching. So we've been the person in the corporate career who wants to have an impact and wants to kind of follow more of a passion-led career and go and help others, and coaching is the vehicle that we found to be able to do that. And when we were training as coaches, we were like, this is amazing, we love this, we're really passionate about it, but how do you actually turn it into a viable business? And we don't have any books that have laid it all out for us. We read so much around the coaching industry, how to build our skills, how to learn different coaching models and tools, which our book has plenty of in it, but we didn't have the business side. So we wanted to put it both into the book. So really excited to be able to finally bring it out for everyone.
I can really see how it is really practical, because I remember I did a coaching qualification way back, and there are loads of books on how to different coaching tools, different ways of, was it time to think? I remember that was a big one that everyone would use.
Yeah.
It's actually the practicalities, and people would often say, oh, you're being a coach, are you a life coach, and is it a lifestyle business, and almost a bit dismissive about it. So what you're saying is that, well, maybe tell us a bit about your business and what it does actually, and how this would complement. Who's going to go for that one? Zoe?
I'll go in for that one. So our business is fundamentally a coaching training company now. It hasn't always been that shape. We started off doing probably leadership development consultancy, running leadership development programs, and we support corporate businesses with executive coaching. And in 2015, we added on coaching training to our business, which has become a big part of the business. So every single day, we are training corporate leaders and corporate leavers to become coaches, many of which want to set up their own coaching businesses themselves, and some of which want to set up their internal coaching culture within their organization and promote, a healthy workforce through coaching and well-being. And so, the book is written with that in mind. It's how do you bring to life those passions and those ideas? And I think it's really important what you said there around, sometimes it can feel dismissive of the coaching because it feels soft and fluffy. And on the inside, there is nothing soft and fluffy about coaching. It's an incredibly courageous career to take on, because when you're working with your clients, you are really pushing them to the brink of what they believe is possible and helping them to overcome challenges and obstacles. And there's nothing soft or fluffy about that. So coaching is a genuinely really credible career. And we need more leaders to train as coaches and to join the coaching profession, because there's such a huge demand for coaches, both internally within organizations and externally. I think what we do through this book is really show people like the inner workings of the coaching world and how much of a credible career it can really be.
And I guess I think that is really powerful and inspiring probably for people here. And obviously if they want to know more about how to do it, then they can get the book and understand more about it, or get in touch with you. I guess, Jo, if you were to help us just understand maybe a couple of takeaways from the book, if I was thinking, is this for me? Or are there any sort of thought processes or models that you take people through to work out whether it's the right career for them?
Yeah, so the first half of the book is about the mindset, as we mentioned. So we take you through identifying what your purpose is, what is coaching, because there's a lot of confusion, especially if people haven't had coaching themselves, identifying your strengths, identifying your career values to check that there's alignment between you and what coaching and a coaching career is, identifying your empowering beliefs and those limiting beliefs that might be getting in the way for you, and what's reality versus those beliefs that are holding you back. Then we help you to explore the emotions that you have around it, so how your thoughts are linked with your feelings about it, and then what is that resulting in terms of your behavior. And then of course that shift from HR into coaching is also a shift of identity. And how ready are you to let go of that identity as a master's qualified HR practitioner and start in a new career? And then we've got the goals. So what are your goals around it? So in every single chapter there is a coaching activity for you to do, at least one. So we'll often say grab your pen and paper and then you work through the stuff as we guide you through it, as if we were your coach through the book. So it's a great way, if you've been watching us for a while and the development of our business, to access our knowledge and experience for $11.99.
Not very much money at all.
Not very much. And then the second half gives people a model of how we structured our business and how we have taken our business online. And it talks you through very practical ways to grow your business through building a community. And we focus on each and every brick in the wall, if you like, to do that. And we tell you exactly who we used and how we did it. So when you're ready, you've got that roadmap to be able to start to do that. And of course, nothing is overnight, nothing is immediate. So we're not saying read this book and then you can have a successful coaching business tomorrow, because that isn't the way that it works. But having that knowledge as you start out enables you to make informed decisions, choices about how you spend your time, and those small actions that you take now, actually, as we know, that consistency leads to you building something really amazing in the future.
I was thinking one of the kind of simple takeaways, I think, from the book, we open the book by saying, look, if you're reading this book, chances are you already know what you want, because we were that person, again, thinking of developing as a coach, but not sure. And actually what a lot of people need is reassurance and validation. And I think what we do throughout the book is, the main takeaway is just take the first step. Like, you don't have to have your whole plan of how you're going to run this multi-six-figure coaching business, which is like the term that's sort of banded around. You don't have to have that worked out, because you can't do any of that until you've taken the first step. And once you take the first step, then you've got momentum. You're unstuck. You're no longer just thinking about it or wondering if. You are on the road to making change happen. And that's what we want for people. We don't want people to stay stuck, either in jobs that they don't enjoy, or in a phase of their career where they don't feel they're growing, or with a dream that one day might happen. We want people to get moving as quickly as they can, so that the journey is happening. They may not be ready for the ultimate end goal. And that's what this book really does, is it takes people from a place of being stuck and helps them to actually get moving. And so
there is a new model.
Go on.
So there is a new model in the book that we've created and are sharing, and it's to do with niching, because that's often something that kind of gets in the way for people. Well, what sort of coach would I be? Would I need to when do I decide that? Do I need to know that before I start my training, or the pressure to decide that while I'm training? And the niching map actually takes people through the things to look out for when you're niching. And it's something that held us back in terms of our own business, because we're like, we don't want to exclude anybody, because that feels so different to coaching principles and beliefs, and so we make it very accessible and help people to work through that in the book, so that again, that's something then that they can progress through and just take those initial steps early on.
So do you recommend niching
now? Yes.
Yeah.
And we have a slightly probably different approach to it. So a lot of business gurus will say niche straight away, niche down. And the reality is sometimes the niche has to find you. Like, to come out of the gate and try to have it all worked out can often kill the passion and kill the joy. And coaches, you can afford to take time to discover what you're passionate about and what you enjoy, and who are the people that you most want to work with, and can they afford you, at the rates that you want to pay. And these are all of the things that we help people to work through in that niching map, as well as, yes, think about all of these factors and go and play, like have fun with your coaching and find out what brings you the most joy, because ultimately that's going to be where you end up niching.
Your clients will tell you what sort of a coach you are, what your strengths are, and what you become known for, and you'll be able to see that in your testimonials, and it will evolve. I don't think what you start off niching around will be the thing that you continue to niche around, and I think that is a blocker for people, thinking I've got to have one thing that I stick at. Yes, you need to stick at it for a period, but as you grow and evolve, and as a coach and you do more training, you work with more clients, your niche will slightly evolve. And of course, the niching really is purely about marketing. If there is a real chemistry and you can add value to somebody else, you can still work with somebody that doesn't fit your, the term people use is ideal client. It's really about adding value and being ethical in the work that you do. And really, coaching is about relationships. So it's starting from the place of relationship, and doing contracting around what is and isn't in scope, and how you're going to review the work doing. And it might seem ridiculous, but it took us forever to realize that our primary niche is coaching training. We just couldn't see it. We couldn't see it. And then it was actually only probably maybe 18 months ago that I had the courage to niche myself as an emotions coach for CEOs and those on a CEO pathway, because that's what I always talk about. It's where my coaching always leads to. I feel like it is the heart of that. It's very much what Zoe and I, the area we work in, and that is the next evolution of our coaching training will be specializing in emotions coaching, because we think that's where change gets integrated, within us at that humanistic level.
So really it's almost, you said you've been on a journey, and what you're doing is you're helping people to accelerate the journey for themselves, because you're coaching them through the first half of the book, asking the questions, in a shorter period of time that they can discover for themselves. Not to say that you're going to know what your niche is from day one, but I do agree that niching is very useful, because I know when I started my training business, I was like, well, I can do most things. I'm quite a generalist. No one knows what to buy you for then, right? So you have to at least start with something, so you get a name and you get that credibility. And then what you're saying is, once you've decided it is for you and you've made a few decisions, then the business aspect, which it can be a hard bit, you can do, or also the training. And I suppose maybe that's a good place for us to wrap up, because you do lots of other things. The book just happens to be launching today when we put this out on LinkedIn on the 25th of April. But in terms of, you've got the coaching crowd, you've got lots of other things that people can come and find you for, haven't you? Do you want to just close on explaining some of those other areas?
Yeah, we have a podcast called The Coaching Crowd, and that's been really popular, and really is a kind of a Q&A for people that are thinking about training to be coaches. We kind of asked our coaching crowd, which are a free group on Facebook, there's about 2,100 people in there, what are the questions you had when you were thinking about training? And we based it around that initially. And so they can find us on YouTube, which is our In Good Company YouTube channel, which is our business name, but we also have developed this brand as The Coaching Crowd. So our coaching training is In Good Company, and then we have our individual coaching businesses as Zoe Hawkins and as Jo Wheatley as individual executive coaches. So did I miss anything, Zoe?
We're everywhere. You can connect with us on LinkedIn. We're there on Instagram. Yeah, LinkedIn. We're there on Instagram. We have a podcast page called @the_coaching_crowd. I think I've said that right.
Oh my goodness.
We're hard to miss, particularly today. We've been splashed around social media today. I know this will be going out at a particularly different time, but do just come and connect with us in any of those places. And we love to meet like-minded people. It's great to have conversations with you.
Ultimately, we offer a 360 of coaching. We are coaching nerds. So if coaching is on your agenda for yourself or your organization, reach out. And if it's not us that's a good partner for you, we're likely to be able to recommend somebody who will be a great partner. And we would only ever engage with something where we knew that we could add value.
Absolutely. And there's loads of free content. You've got loads of video content. There's loads of your podcast. There's lots of resources and IP you can just benefit from, or share with others who might benefit. And what we'll do is we'll put in the chat and also in the show notes on the podcast, any of those links, so that we don't have to remember what's underscore. Guys, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
With your continuing sales of your book. It's a very exciting day for you.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. So that was a great high energy conversation, wasn't it? And I thought it might be useful for me to share a little bit more detail about what the book has in store, because obviously we kept that conversation to 15 minutes. Well, what I really liked about the book was it's almost like being coached. Actually, if you think about how expensive it can be to have a coaching session, you might not everyone can afford it. You could work through the book literally like a workshop, and it starts each chapter with a quote from the ladies. I like that because it's their own, they're quoting themselves, backing themselves. There's some content on various topics, whether it's about values, strengths, limiting beliefs, goals, all those sort of things, the sort of things that you might work on if you were working with a professional coach. And then at the end of each chapter, it also has key reflection questions and also obviously a summary what the key points are in the chapter. So that structure is a really helpful way to almost think, learn, and then reflect and do. So I like that very much about it. It covers interesting things about, the challenges, what stops us, why are we sometimes our own worst enemies? So why are we sometimes indecisive? Does it stop us from making decisions? It talks about what do we need to do if we are, whether being a coach is consistent with our values. Now, not everybody knows their values, so it walks you through how you can think about what your values are and whether coaching would fit with you. The same thing for limiting beliefs, which is one of those terms that people don't always realise they've got until they work with someone in a coaching capacity, which this would enable you to start thinking about. Have you got limiting beliefs holding you back? It goes into the ins and outs of coaching if you're not really quite sure what it's about. It's one of those mysterious terms. And also really practical. So if you are thinking of leaving employment in order to go into coaching, do you have to do it big bang? How could you do it? What are the ways you should do it? I love the emotional wheel, which I think is Roa Pluchkick. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but I remember Jo showing me that. And I think it's a really lovely tool, which is in the book as well. So it really walks through, if you want to think about coaching yourself, I think it's a really practical tool that you could use. And if you actually treated yourself, if you like, to do a chapter and to work through it like a workbook, you'd get great value from it. The second part of it is really practical. If you've made that decision you want to do it, it's the ins and outs and the hows. Because it's all well and good you decide to be a coach, but how do you specialise? How do you set up your business? Realising that it's not just coaching that you'll be doing, having a portfolio of services. So it talks about those sort of things. And also, the reality check that coaching is intense. So you're not necessarily going to be coaching all day, every day, and you might not want to. Or how do you manage that? How do you have contracts? How do you manage your own emotions and your sanity if you're going into that area, and keep those boundaries going? So very much like you see counsellors and things and that sort of thing, how important that is. So I see this as a really practical handbook. I'd highly recommend that you go online and have a look at it. And if you do so, make the most of it. The ladies from the coaching crowd, have got a fantastic YouTube channel, and they have their own podcast as well that you can find. And I'll make sure those links are in the show notes. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you go on to listen to any of Zoe or Jo's content, I'm sure you'll get great value out of it. And I wish the ladies lots of success for the future. See you next time. I really hope you found this week's episode useful and enjoyable. If you did, perhaps you could recommend us to a friend or colleague, or give us a review on your platform of choice. It really helps new listeners to find us. Now you can access links to any of the information mentioned in this show via the website www.hruprising.com. Further free resources are also available at www.actus.co.uk. There you can also find out more about our software and training solutions. Finally, why not join our LinkedIn group, the HR Uprising, to share ideas and collaborate with other like-minded people professionals. thank you for listening to the HR Uprising podcast.